Imagine a point on the map so distant from civilization that the closest human beings are not on the nearest continent, but orbiting hundreds of miles above your head in the International Space Station. This is the southern Indian Ocean, a violent, churning void of salt and grey mist. And here, rising like a jagged black tooth from the froth of the furious 50s, lies Kerguelen. To the few who have seen its shores, it is known by a simpler, more honest name, the Desolation Islands. You are standing on a shoreline of crushed volcanic glass. The air does not move, it attacks. Here the wind is not a weather pattern, but a permanent resident, a physical weight that screams across thousands of miles of open water with nothing to break its fall until it slams into these cliffs. There are no trees here, not a single trunk or branch has survived the centuries of gales. Instead, the earth is carpeted in a low, prehistoric emerald moss and the legendary Kerguelen cabbage, a relic of a world that time forgot, clinging to the basalt with a desperation that mirrors the landscape itself. The silence is deceptive. Beneath the howl of the wind, there is the grinding of ancient ice. In the center of the main island sits the Cook Glacier, a massive, frozen heart spanning over 500 square kilometers. It is a relic of the last ice age, a slow-moving river of white and neon blue that carves deep, jagged fjords into the volcanic rock. From the air, the island looks like a shattered star, its peninsulas reaching out into the surf like the fingers of a drowning giant. This is a place defined by fire and ice, born from a volcanic hotspot 25 million years ago and frozen into a state of permanent, beautiful hostility. As you move inland, the scale of the isolation begins to sink in. You are walking through a cathedral of basalt. Great hexagonal columns rise hundreds of feet into the mist, resembling the ruins of a civilization that never existed. The ground is a labyrinth of peat bogs and freezing streams where the water is so pure it tastes of stone and sky. There is no scent of smog or industry here, only the sharp metallic tang of ozone and the heavy, musky odor of the giants that claim these beaches. On the black sand of the eastern coves, the true masters of Kerguelen gather in their thousands. Southern elephant seals, weighing up to 4 tons, lie like bloated boulders across the shore. Their roars compete with the crashing surf, a primal, guttural sound that has echoed through these valleys since before the first humans set foot on a boat. Beside them, king penguins stand in silver and gold ranks, their feathers slick with the freezing brine. They are the only splashes of color in a world of monochrome gray and deep obsidian. To watch them is to realize that we are the intruders. This is a kingdom that does not recognize our borders or our names, but Kerguelen holds a darker, more haunting beauty. Scattered along the coastline are the skeletons of a failed human past. You come across the ruins of Port Jeanne d'Arc, an abandoned whaling station from the early 20th century. Here the wood has been polished silver by the salt air, and the great iron vats once used to boil blubber sit rusting in the moss, looking like fallen bells from a drowned church. There is a profound melancholy in these ruins. They are a monument to human greed and the ultimate triumph of the wilderness. Nature here does not just reclaim, it erases. The wind and the sea are slowly grinding these structures back into the earth, turning iron to dust and timber to peat. The paradox of Kerguelen is its life. In a place so cold and wind-beaten that it should be a desert, life thrives with a fierce, quiet intensity. High above the cliffs, the wandering albatross circles. With a wingspan of 11 feet, it is the monarch of the skies, spending years at sea without ever touching land, returning only to these desolate peaks to nest. It is a creature of the wind, an animal that has evolved to turn the very violence of the atmosphere into a means of effortless grace. Watching it glide against the backdrop of a brewing storm, you understand the spirit of this place. It is not about comfort, it is about the sublime. As the sun begins to dip toward the horizon, the landscape undergoes a terrifying transformation. The grey mist catches a fleeting, bruised, purple light. The basalt peaks of the Grand Ross, the highest point on the island, glow like dying embers. The temperature plummets, and the rain turns to stinging sleet that moves horizontally across the plains. In this light, Kerguelen looks like the surface of a distant, cooling moon. It is a landscape that feels unfinished, or perhaps a landscape that has already seen the end of the world and decided to keep going. There are no lights here, no flickering glow of a distant city, no hum of an engine. When night falls on the Desolation Islands, it is a total, heavy darkness that swallows the horizon. The stars above are different here, sharper, colder, and more numerous than you have ever seen. They reflect in the still pools of the fjords, creating the illusion that you are standing in the center of a cosmic void, suspended between two heavens. It is a moment of terrifying clarity. You realize that the world is much larger, much older, and much more indifferent than we ever care to admit. Kerguelen is a reminder that there are still places on this earth that do not belong to us. It is a sanctuary of the wild, a fortress of rock and ice, protected by the most violent seas on the planet. It asks nothing of us and offers nothing in return but the chance to witness the raw, unedited power of creation. To stand on its shores is to feel the weight of the planet's history, to hear the breath of the earth in every gust of wind, and to know that even if we were to vanish tomorrow, the albatross would still fly, the seals would still roar, and the ice would still grind its way toward the sea. As you look back one last time at the jagged silhouette of the black peaks fading into the spray, the realization hits. We do not come to places like Kerguelen to find ourselves, but to lose ourselves. We come to remember what it feels like to be small. In the heart of the Desolation Islands, you find the ultimate truth of the wilderness, that the most beautiful things on earth are often the ones that have absolutely no use for us. In the end, we are merely ghosts passing through a world that was always and will forever be its own.